Good day. Thank you for being here with us today on Everyone's Got a Story. What's yours? My name is Michael Smickley, and this is Victoria Kirilloff, correct?
Yes.
So thank you much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Michael. It's a pleasure to be with you.
You're welcome. So to the audience here, what our concept of the show is all about, we have a thing called life. Life happens to us. It has the experiences and knowledges we gain throughout life, molds us, shapes us into who we are today. As you go through it, well, it's kind of mundane to us, but someone else who hears your story may resonate with it and give them hope and or inspire them to be so much more. So today we're having Victoria telling us about her story, and I'm very happy and pleased to have you on my show, and thank you.
It's a pleasure to be with you, and I'm excited to share a little bit about my journey and inspire folks along the way.
Very true. So tell us about your experiences and why they're important to you, please.
Well, throughout my life, I have realized that we often feel alone, and it's because we're facing problems that seem bigger than ourselves. But in a planet full of 9 billion people, what we do is rarely trail-breaking, and we just need to find the right person that's gone through the experience before us to learn from them and then use their strategies to then build our way out.
Yes.
And so my teacher was my father. I am a daddy's girl.
That's really good. That's good.
Well, he was an older man when he had me, and my parents had a very traditional relationship.
Cool.
There was a division of household labor. My mom took care of me and all of the pets and animals and my activities, and my dad took care of the finances. And this worked for them.
Okay.
But my dad, understanding that as a nuclear engineer, he lived a very interesting life.
That would be true.
And he had we had a family business, and he was constantly inventing something new.
That'd be cool.
It was a great way to really grow up. And with the privilege came a lot of responsibility. And so I was able to be in every activity known to man, but I also was taught how to build a business and the importance of being able to make data-driven decisions during times of life crisis.
Smart.
And so being that he was 50 when I was born, he realized that his time on earth was not going to be nearly as long as I needed. So as I grew up, he was constantly teaching me these life lessons, knowing that one day I would face challenges without him. And I am standing on the shoulders of a giant. And it began really with my first financial report I wrote when I was 8 years old on a horse.
Awesome. Awesome.
What little girl doesn't want a pony? And
True.
I had been asking my parents for years to buy me a horse. I got nowhere. But one summer, my dad suggested that I conduct a life cycle cost analysis on the horse.
Ooh.
So my mom and I went around to all of the barns, and we really drilled down on how much it was going to cost the family. I typed everything up in a report, and I understood that my activities would change from lacrosse and tennis to piano and ballet.
Interesting.
All of that time, effort, and energy, and importantly money, would then be diverted to the horse. So yes, the horse was going to cost the family a lot of money, but it was not going to be as much, and our lives would change. So I presented my argument focusing on the facts and really leaning into the numerical side of the argument. And I am happy to report that my parents bought me the horse.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, so this created the foundation of knowing that if you had approached problems from a numerical standpoint and break it down to the implications, the financial implications of the life event, you're going to be able to have a much bigger say in how things go down.
That is true. Very true.
So fast forward to the time I'm 25, I'm working in the family business underneath my father's tutelage, and he suffers a catastrophic stroke. It was heartbreaking. As you know, when you experience loss like that, even if you've been preparing for it, nothing is truly like losing that person in your life.
Yes.
And my father survived for another 10 years after that.
That's good.
But it was in a much reduced capacity. And sometimes there's a fate worse than death. And watching my dad, who is this big man, be reduced down to a shell of his former self was heartbreaking. But I also had the family business to manage, and I had our family's finances to navigate through. And my parents, long story short, we thought we had covered our health risk when it came to their financial planning. Our advisor gave us horrible advice. He wasn't licensed to sell life insurance, and it came down to a commission for him, essentially. And he suggested, well, the second financial report I wrote was on long-term care insurance. I know, it's so sexy.
They're needed.
They are. And my dad was always looking forward.
Yes.
Understanding that life happens when you least expect it.
That is true.
And if you do not know the financial implications of the choices you're making, you are not going to be able to really control the outcome.
That is true.
So I typed up that long-term care report and presented it to our advisor, only for him to poo-poo it and suggest my parents put the money into a REIT, which is a real estate investment trust, which is not at all designed for taking care of long-term care events. So when I was 25, not only did I have the family business to navigate without my father being able to manage it anymore, I also had this huge life event to figure out how we were going to pay for. And thankfully, my parents had some resources, but I will never forget the doctor leaving his hospital room, and I just was in a puddle on the floor thinking about how my mom and I would handle this and how we were going to get my dad the best amount of care.
Yes.
And it was so challenging to then be hoisted into that role, the one my papa was always planning me to hold. But when it's unexpected, there's no amount of planning that can really prepare you to take on that challenge.
That's very true. I wish things would have been better for you.
Well, my life is strange because
How so?
I have had the most amazing success sharing my solutions. I have navigated the 4 horsemen of the financial apocalypse.
Which that's a great tagline. When we first met at the Omaha Empowerment Breakfast, you said that. It was like, that's brilliant.
Oh,
So can you tell us a little more about that, please?
Well, the 4 horsemen of the financial apocalypse are divorce, death, drink, and dice.
Makes sense.
So I have handled unfortunately, the death of my grandma and my dad and many loved ones, and now, unfortunately, many clients have transitioned to the other side. And this is a huge financial event. And most of us are so caught up in our emotions that we forget that the estate has to be transferred to the heirs. And there is a huge transition that goes with this.
That is very true. Very true.
And if you aren't managing both the emotions and the transition, it's lopsided and it's so challenging because you're feeling the loss of that person.
Yes.
They're no longer in your life like they used to be.
Yes.
And now you have to deal with all of these mechanics. It can be very overwhelming.
Normally, 99% of the time, yes, it is very much overwhelming. Thankfully, what you have that you're helping out with others gives you that kind of coach in the corner aspect.
Absolutely. I have lived through these 4 horsemen. So the second horseman is divorce. Now, from the time I was 20 to 30, I had a 10-year relationship that unfortunately was pretty abusive towards the end. And this happened after my father's stroke. And so not only did I not have my 900-pound Russian gorilla in the room anymore,
True.
I never solved a problem without him. Even though he had always empowered me, I had him to lean on. And so I had to go back to his teachings. And he would always say, if it cannot be expressed in numbers, it cannot be expressed at all.
Interesting.
So I took this highly volatile and emotionally driven relationship and I boiled it down to the financial facts. And I created what ended up becoming the first divorce impact analysis report. And I outlined what we had, along with different ways for us to divide up our shared resources. And it was remarkable. Well, I knew that my former partner as an engineer was mathematically based, as most men are, and I was able to connect to what motivated him to really avoid a lot of the heartache and unnecessary cost and derision that goes along with divorce.
Makes sense. Makes
So
sense.
I was able then to share with others my solutions. And it's hard because both divorce and death are monumental life events, and they are going to impact you. Maybe not divorce, but definitely death.
That is true.
No one.
No one escapes that. Even,
No.
even Highlanders will find it. Sorry,
I love it.
I'm a geek. I'm a nerd, so that's the Highlander reference. But yes, and then so what's the you got death, divorce. What's the other two?
Drinking and dice.
Okay.
So emotions are your money. And when you're dealing with family members or potentially yourself who's under the influence, you're going to be making decisions that are not in alignment with your bigger financial picture. So as you go throughout divorce and death, if you are then dealing with a family member that is impacted by drinking or dice, you need to have an additional awareness of the psychological operations you need to conduct in order to secure the right outcome.
Yes, that is very true. Very true. And the drinking and drugs and other things, I call them escapisms.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, because of the pain and suffering that's going in their lives from either from family, home, job, business, so forth that's out there, if they're having a hard time dealing with it, they go into some type of escapism. There's many of them out there that can be, more than just drinking and drugs and stuff like that, or dice. But if you can change that paradigm shift from the negative and create a why bigger than yourself, or find a why bigger than yourself, then you can put your resources of your energy and time to something that's more productive than just wallowing in the lack of
pain.
it, the pain and suffering and sorrow. Yes.
And it's so easy because our brains are designed for us to survive, not to thrive. And those survival mechanisms do involve numbing and dissociation. So if you know that you are dealing with somebody that's already predisposed, has the characteristics to
Yes.
numb and to self-medicate, you need to get outside of yourself and to find the right resources to help them with the transition so they don't end up a statistic.
That is true. Very true.
I think there's so much suffering and pain, especially after COVID.
Yes.
People are feeling isolated, and drinking is a great way to numb those emotions. And so by reaching out and asking for help, not only are you holding yourself accountable, but you're also creating that community. I think one of the most powerful things as you're going throughout treatment is developing that community around you and knowing that you're not isolated. You can reach out. You just have to take the first step, which is often the hardest.
Yes, it is.
You have to switch your brain over to surviving into thriving.
Correct. Very correct. It's like one of the, I do a lot of teachings and so forth and a lot of seminars, workshops, and classes I do on the aspects. I've been using myself as a new template in one of my new workshops. It's called the mindset workout. Like when you work out your muscles, by working out the mind with a different mindset, then you change entire paradigm shift and creating a brand new life within oneself. So it's really kind of fun. I'm not quite done with it yet, but I'm still working on it. But yeah, there's different things we can move forward in our lives to make things a very powerful and positive impact in our lives. And it's like, remember as a little girl, maybe as an adult as we do, we throw a rock in the water. As the rock hits, the water ripples out. Hits the shores, ripple back. Now as you're doing the foundational footsteps forward in your life, the waves get bigger and bigger. So those who are your family, your friends, your community, your neighbors, and so forth are watching and seeing how you involve in your life and how you're moving forward. Those people who are watching are now being inspired by you. So as you're moving forward in your life from your family, friends, and business and all this, I noticed on LinkedIn you shared something about your business with Divorce Analytics, is that correct?
Divorce Analytics.
You have a new kit that you created, is that correct?
I did.
Can you tell us a little bit about that for us?
Yeah. Well, Divorce is often looked at as an emotional event that has a legal ending. In actuality, divorce is a financial transaction that has an emotional and a legal component.
Okay.
So the most important document of your divorce is actually called the financial affidavit.
Okay.
And this is your disclosure. And this is generally where most people that go through traditional divorce end up generating the most amount of cost, because people do not want to be financially transparent. In the end, they're going to have to reveal everything, but they might try to bleed you dry, dragging the process out. So when you're in the planning stage, you have a lot better opportunity to gather the documents and to get prepared. Well, the divorce planning kit is designed to help you understand how to essentially budget, which is going to be needed on your income and expense disclosure, but then also it walks you through how to essentially gather the rest of the information needed for the financial affidavit. But the most important thing that the divorce planning kit has, well, everything's important, don't get me wrong, but there's a divorce goals workbook.
Okay.
Now, I'm a big believer with beginning everything with an end in mind, and this holds true for divorce.
Okay.
If you do not hone in on what you want your post-divorce life to look like,
Okay.
you are going to experience something called decision fatigue.
Interesting.
Well, decision fatigue occurs when you have literally made thousands of decisions and your brain wants to throw in the towel and it's just like, okay, I'll accept whatever you put in front of me. And as a result, you might accept a divorce settlement that's not in alignment with what your financial requirements are post-divorce, just because you want to be done. But then also, you need to take a step back and redefine your relationship with either your soon-to-be ex, or maybe they're going to transition into being your co-parent.
Interesting.
So you have to get out of that partnership mindset and update your thinking, but most importantly, connect to the parts of the relationship that served you.
Okay.
Now, I'm a big believer that divorce does not have to be painful. You need to work with the other person to generate a win-win outcome.
So best way to be.
Really, you don't want to have divorce be a penalizing event. It's unfortunate because a lot of our common culture shares with us this image of us versus them. And you guys were a family at one point.
Correct.
And you need to ensure that both parties are going to have viable lives after the separation.
Yes.
So when you connect with that goodwill, you're able to remember why you liked them and connect to how you best worked together.
Correct.
When you have that mindset, you're going to avoid the low-lying fruit and stay out of the mud
Yes.
and focus on your post-divorce life.
Yes.
The marriage is what didn't work. So you need to update your thinking and connect with your highest self to really use the divorce period as a process of rebirth.
Yes. Yes.
And-
Especially if there's children involved too.
So true. Kids do not divorce their parents.
Correct. That includes fur kids too.
Absolutely. And sometimes the fur babies can cause a lot more derision when it comes to the negotiation and division process than the kids.
True. True. True.
So the kids often, they'll reach a certain point and they'll be able to tell you what they want. Well, with the fur babies, as much as we like to think that they're going to speak to us one day, they do not have a true voice.
True.
So they can be used as little nuggets.
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, yes. So, let's change gears for a moment here. Are there any podcasts, books, or speakers that you that inspire you, that helps you through your life, in your business? Are there any out there that you can recommend for others?
Oh, wow. To pick one or two or three is so hard to do.
If there's 10 of them, let's go for it.
I think it's really important to have a good self-care process. Now, there's not necessarily a guru that I follow for this, but I believe in doing some type of exercise that's going to help you clear your emotions out.
That is smart. Very
And-
smart.
Well, when you're dealing with these high levels of conflict in your life, the emotions get stored in your body.
Yes, they do.
And I am unfortunately a big recovering like repressor. And so I will put myself into high conflict situations because I know I have the skill set. And part of that is the repression of how I'm truly feeling in the moment.
Yes.
So when the day is done, I have to get rid of that so it doesn't aggravate my rheumatoid arthritis.
Correct.
And so many of us, we are dealing with psychological stress, and we're not aware of how it's impacting our bodies.
Yes.
So having a great self-care practice that involves some type of yoga or Reiki, that's really going to enable you to shed that energy and to step into your highest self.
Very true, very true. It's like one thing I specialize in is helping people deal with the cellular structure of that's trauma energy that's trapped within the cellular structure, be able to release and let it go. So nothing can be holding you back, blocking you, draining you, and limiting you, to be able to help you have that unconditional love lighten back within yourself and be able to move forward in your life and so forth.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I definitely understand exactly what you're talking about there. So is there any questions I have not asked yet that I should have?
Gosh, I think maybe it's not a question, but I think it's important for everyone to realize that no matter how glamorous someone's life is, chances are they are struggling just like you. And I have had this remarkable position through my upbringing to see how unfettered emotions can destroy families.
Yes.
And
communication is key.
Somebody, it might look like they have everything. They have the beautiful house, the beautiful family, but if they're not able to communicate with one another, resentment grows.
Correct.
And sometimes this takes the form of, divorce, but sometimes the conflict just manifests and continues to build and build and build, and everyone's still putting on a happy face. And so while it might be tempting to judge your life against someone else's, it's really important to remember everything you see on social media is the best version of it.
Yeah.
And so don't get down on yourself.
Correct.
But remembering how truly powerful you are.
Yes.
We have gotten disconnected from from ourselves and honestly our willpower. And you can start small. A lot of people, I've gone through significant changes in my life. I have bootstrapped my own business. I have, gotten out of an abusive relationship. I have lost a client to intimate partner violence. And throughout all of these changes, I have been able to take small steps every day. And it might look like somebody's success has occurred overnight, but I guarantee it, this has been a very long progression of making the right decision every single day and showing up.
Yes.
I think not enough can be said about discipline. You don't always have to give 100%, but what you do have to do is show up 100% of the time.
That is correct. Very correct. Is there any events that's going on in your life, your business, that you want to promote?
Not at this time.
Not this time. Okay, so
Yeah,
coming up
we're
here.
in the planning stage right now.
Okay, good. I knew you mentioned something about on LinkedIn, you're working on some different projects you're working towards. So I was just kind of curious if, for the viewers, to be tune in next time for that opportunity when we get you on next time.
Well, right now, we recently launched the divorce planning kit,
Yes.
and so we're actually taking a step back, retooling it a little bit, and seeing how we can best meet our customers' needs.
Smart, very
So
smart.
many people, they go about the divorce process the wrong way, starting with the legal portion to begin with, and they completely skip over the planning process. And it's due to those emotions.
Yes, that is very true, very true. So before we wrap up here, any words of wisdom for anybody out there watching our show today?
Yes, the one thing you should never do is discount yourself. So many of us have gotten disconnected from our true power, as I was talking about earlier.
Yes.
And we discount our beliefs and our ability to take up space. We make ourselves small, we reduce our dreams so they're not going to make anyone else uncomfortable.
Sadly.
Very sadly. And the last thing you want to do is to be middle-aged and looking back upon your life, realizing that you never truly lived a day for yourself.
Correct.
So you need to know what you want and then go after it with reckless abandon.
Yes, yes, I agree with that. To be able to maximize your life, Look, and way I like when I do my coaching and so forth, I always like to help others to unlock their true potential, build a game plan of success with a plan of action. Action is a key part of it. If we plan with no action, we're just still in the planning stages. You've done an amazing job helping others as you've been growing and so forth. As you continue moving your life forward, you'll be a powerful and positive impact for so many of our viewers out there. As you grow and change and maximize your life and helping others to be that journey woman in the aspect of being their guide of their life past divorce. Because the financials are that numbered key towards life. Or something like that in a way. So we got about a few seconds here. Anything else you'd like to add?
One of the best hacks I could recommend is put your goal on a sticky note in your bathroom.
Yes.
If you see it every single day,
Yes.
it's going to force you to do something.
Yes.
So the more you can just frequently visualize your goals and connect with how you want to be living,
Yes.
yeah, it's going to take some effort and action. But as long as you take that one step every single day, it will add up. And before you know it, you'll have walked a mile.
Yes. Now that is brilliant knowledge. And definitely everyone out there, I'd like to say thank you, Victoria. And I'm looking forward to having you come back again here soon. And thank you for each and every one of you being here on Everyone's Got a Story. What's yours? My name is Michael Smickley. Thank you.